I had always thought of family dinners as sacred, intimate,
Warm.
a chance to laugh, to share stories, to belong. But that night, everything I believed was ripped apart in a single, suffocating moment. Silas Grier, my ex, had invited his new flame, Odette, to our private family dinner. Not just invited, he demanded I serve her.
Me.
The woman he'd once claimed to love, now reduced to a hostess, a shadow at the table, while he lavished the attention I had craved on someone else. Freya, pour the wine for Odette, he said, his voice smooth, commanding, as if he had always been entitled to her admiration. I froze, the crystal decanter trembling in my hands. The clink of glass against glass sounded louder than it should have, echoing in my chest. Odette smiled at him, that practiced, dazzling smile, and I felt something inside me fracture. Silas, this isn't. I began, but he waved me off, his hand sweeping the air as though my words were invisible. Do as I said. This is proper etiquette. I could feel the panic rising, a cold, crushing weight pressing against my ribs. My breaths came in short, sharp bursts, each one harder than the last. The warmth of the dining room seemed to vanish, leaving me isolated in a terrifying vacuum. And then it happened. My heart faltered. My vision blurred. For seconds, I wasn't even sure I was breathing. I was alive, yet suspended somewhere between reality and a void, as if my very essence had stopped, frozen in disbelief. When the spell broke, I gasped, clutching my chest, tears stinging my eyes. I had been silent, obedient, patient, but something inside me snapped. The fire that had long simmered, quiet and restrained, ignited fully, scorching away the fear and submission I had carried for too long. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't bear to watch him fawn over her, to see his disrespect, his callousness. I turned on my heel, barely noticing the shocked stares around the table, and fled. The echo of the crystal and their laughter followed me like a taunt. I ran into the night, cold air filling my lungs, letting the tears flow freely. Every step, every sob, was a declaration I would no longer be diminished. No one, not Silas, not Odette, not anyone, would control my worth or my heart. As I rounded the corner toward Asher's apartment, I felt a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. He had always been my constant, my safe harbor, my friend. And maybe tonight, when the world had shown me its cruelty, I could finally let him in. The knock at the door was almost ceremonial, as if fate had led me to this moment. Asher opened it instantly, his eyes widening when he saw the state I was in. Freya? What happened? He asked, his voice gentle, his hand reaching for mine. I let him guide me inside, allowing myself to lean on him, not just physically, but emotionally. For the first time in what felt like forever, I realized I was done being a shadow. I was done being silenced. And with Asher there, steady and unwavering, I felt the spark of something new, something that might finally heal the hurt Silas had caused. The moment I stepped into Asher's apartment, a sense of safety washed over me like a balm. The familiar scent of his cologne and old books, the quiet hum of his space, made the chaos of the dinner fade slightly. But inside me, a storm had ignited, fierce and undeniable. I sank onto his couch, still trembling, my hands clutching the fabric as though it could anchor me to reality. Asher, I can't. My voice broke, overwhelmed by the magnitude of everything I had just endured. He knelt in front of me, placing his hands gently over mine. Freya, look at me, he said softly. His brown eyes, warm and unwavering, held my gaze. You're safe now. No one can touch you here. Not Silas, not Odette, not anyone. You're free.
Free.
The word reverberated in my mind, but it didn't feel like freedom yet. It felt like a seed, small and fragile, waiting to grow. My chest heaved as I thought about the humiliation, the panic, the way Silas had treated me like a servant in my own life. How easily he could erase me, yet I had let him for so long. No, Asher, I said suddenly, my voice firmer, tinged with a fire I hadn't felt in years. I'm not just free. I'm done being invisible. Done being disrespected. Done being someone else's shadow. He nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. That's the Freya I know.
The one I've always admired.
Strong, brilliant, fierce. His words were fuel to the fire that had sparked during the dinner. I could feel it building inside me, the anger transforming into determination. I had survived panic, humiliation, and betrayal, and now I could channel it into something powerful. Something that would make Silas realize he had lost more than just a wife. He had lost the respect and dignity of a woman who refused to be controlled. Then we do it, I said, my eyes meeting his with resolve. We make him see. We make everyone see. I will not be silenced or belittled ever again. Asher's hand squeezed mine, grounding me even as the fire roared through my veins. And I'll be right here. You've been my best friend your whole life, Freya. I've waited, yes, but I can't wait any longer. You deserve someone who stands by you, who fights for you. That's me. And I won't let anyone, not even Silas, take that away. My heart thudded in a strange mix of relief and hope. For years, Asher had been my constant, my quiet protector, and now he was openly declaring what I had long suspected. He had always been mine in some unspoken way. A slow smile crept across my face as I realized something profound. The panic, the heart-stopping fear, the humiliation, it had all led me here. To this moment, to a chance at reclaiming my life and, perhaps, recognizing that my soulmate had been beside me all along. I'm ready, I said finally, feeling a rush of empowerment. Let's show him what happens when you cross someone like me. Asher nodded, the determination in his eyes matching mine. Together, we would take back what was mine, my dignity, my voice, and my life. And in the process, maybe we would find something even more extraordinary, a love that had always been there, waiting for the right moment to ignite. The next morning, I awoke with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. The panic, the fear, the suffocating weight of humiliation, they were still there, but now they fueled something new, a desire to reclaim my power. Silas had made me feel small, invisible, dispensable. But with Asher by my side, I realized I didn't have to endure it any longer. We sat in his living room, papers and notes scattered across the coffee table. I could feel the energy between us, a mixture of excitement, determination, and something unspoken, something deeper that neither of us had yet dared to name. So, where do we start? I asked, my voice steady, though my heart still fluttered at the intensity of it all. Asher leaned back, fingers steepled. We expose him, he said simply. Not physically, not through threats, but by showing everyone who he really is. His arrogance, his cruelty, his complete disrespect for you. Silas thrives on appearances. He wants the world to think he's perfect. We'll make sure the world sees otherwise. I nodded, a thrill running through me. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, about reclaiming my voice and dignity. What about Odette? I asked cautiously. She's part of the public perception, too. Asher's gaze darkened slightly. She's irrelevant. She's just a pawn in his game. Our focus is on him. The more we show the truth, the faster his social standing crumbles. People will see the real Silas, and Odette will fade into the background. I felt a fire ignite within me. All right, let's do it. Step by step.
Carefully.
And we don't just humiliate him. We show the world that I'm not someone to be belittled, ignored, or dismissed. He smiled, that small, knowing smile that always made my chest tighten.
Exactly.
And while we're at it, I get to stand by your side. Not as your friend this time, but as someone who will fight for you, protect you, and, well, maybe something more. My stomach fluttered, but I didn't shy away. I think I'd like that, I admitted softly. The plan itself was meticulous. We gathered information about Silas's social circle, his public persona, and his need for validation. We traced patterns of behavior, documented his most blatant acts of disrespect, and prepared for a controlled exposure. Every move had to be calculated, He was dangerous, and impulsive retaliation would only backfire. But as we worked together, side by side, I felt something else growing, an intimacy born not of passion alone, but of trust, understanding, and shared purpose. Asher had always known me, seen me at my most vulnerable, and now he was helping me rise from that vulnerability into something powerful and unstoppable. By the end of the day, our plan was set. We would not humiliate Silas for cruelty alone. We would expose him, elevate me, and prove that a woman's worth was never dependent on the respect of someone who didn't deserve it. As we leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated, I realized something profound. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared. Not of Silas, not of the world, and not even of what my heart might feel as Asher stood beside me. Tonight, I thought as I glanced at him, tonight we reclaim more than dignity. Tonight, we reclaim my life. The evening of the gala arrived, glittering with the promise of high society, champagne, and meticulously curated appearances. Silas loved events like these, an arena where his charm and social finesse could mesmerize, manipulate, and dominate. But tonight, I would not be invisible. Tonight, I would reclaim everything he had tried to take from me. Asher and I arrived together, a subtle but unmistakable declaration. We moved as a unit, side by side, our confidence radiating quietly but undeniably. I felt his hand graze mine, a silent reassurance. My heartbeat quickened, not from fear, but anticipation. Silas was there in his element, smiling, laughing, draping his attention over Odette like she was a prize he had won. But as he glanced my way, his smile faltered. I could feel it, the shift in his demeanor, the recognition that I was no longer the timid, compliant woman he had expected. "Freya," he said smoothly, but there was an edge I hadn't heard before. "You're here." "Yes, Silas," I replied, voice steady, eyes locked on his. "I'm here to enjoy the evening and to remind everyone that respect is earned, not demanded." Asher stepped closer, his presence protective and commanding. "She's right," he said, calmly but with authority that Silas couldn't ignore. "And you, Silas, need to learn that behavior has consequences." The first murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. Subtle whispers, sharp glances, the faint tightening of social tension. Asher and I had spent weeks preparing, and the pieces were falling perfectly into place. I took a deep breath, feeling the fire inside me rise. "Silas," I said, addressing him with quiet confidence, "your public charm doesn't erase your private cruelty. Everyone here deserves to know who you really are." Eyes widened. Phones were raised discreetly. Conversations faltered mid-sentence. Silas's usual confidence began to crack, replaced by a tight, almost feral panic. He tried to smile, to charm his way out, but the spell had been broken. Asher stepped closer to me, his arm brushing mine, a grounding force. "I've known Freya her whole life," he said, "and I've watched someone treat her with disdain, belittlement, and outright disrespect. That ends tonight." The room's attention shifted fully. Socialites, colleagues, and acquaintances looked between us, curiosity and judgment in equal measure. The whispers became louder, the shock palpable. Silas's reputation, carefully curated for years, began to crumble in real time. And then it happened, the final, undeniable fracture. Odette, who had smirked with smug satisfaction all evening, looked at Silas in confusion and frustration. He stumbled over an excuse, but the effect had already taken hold. The gala, meant to celebrate him, now illuminated his arrogance, his entitlement, and the sheer cruelty he had shown me. I felt a rush of triumph, but it was tempered by calm clarity. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice, about reclaiming my voice, my dignity, my life. And standing beside Asher, I realized something else. This man, who had always been my constant, my protector, and my friend, was becoming the center of my world. Silas turned away, flustered and humiliated, the room buzzing with whispers. and I, finally, fully, felt the intoxicating power of my own liberation. The night after the gala, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced, replaying every moment, the whispers, the shocked faces, Silas's crumbling composure. For the first time in months, I felt a profound sense of triumph, not just over him, but over my own fear. I had survived humiliation, panic, and betrayal, and now I had emerged stronger. Asher was there beside me, sitting on the edge of my bed, quietly watching. He didn't need to speak. His presence alone was comforting. I realized then just how long he had been by my side, through childhood, adolescence, and all the silent moments when I thought I was alone. "You did it, Freya," he said softly, finally breaking the silence. His voice carried pride, admiration, and something else, something that made my chest flutter. "I did it," I admitted, though the truth was, I couldn't have done it without him. His steady guidance, his unwavering support, and his belief in me had been my anchor. "But I couldn't have done it without you, Asher." He leaned back slightly, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I've always believed in you. I've always seen the fire inside you, even when you didn't. And now you've unleashed it fully." The words made my heart ache, not with fear, but with realization. For years, I had seen Asher as my best friend, my safe harbor, the one person I could always count on. But now, as I looked at him, really looked, I saw something more. I saw the man who had always loved me, quietly and patiently, waiting for me to realize my own strength. My stomach fluttered with a strange mix of fear and excitement. "Asher." I faltered, unsure how to articulate the whirlwind of emotions coursing through me. "I think I've been blind. You've always been here, and I never let myself see you as more than my friend." He reached for my hand, holding it firmly, yet gently. "You don't need to say anything you're not ready for. But I can't hide it anymore. I love you, Freya. I've loved you since we were kids, since before you even realized what love was. And I don't want to wait any longer." The intensity of his confession struck me. Tears pricked my eyes, not of sadness, but of relief and joy. I realized that the fear and pain Silas had inflicted had cleared the way for something real, something enduring. And it had been standing beside me all along. "I love you too, Asher," I admitted, my voice trembling with truth. "I didn't see it before, but now I do. You've always been my rock, my safe place, and maybe something more." He smiled, a light that filled the room. "Something more," he agreed, leaning in closer. The moment our lips met, it was gentle, tentative, but filled with the promise of everything we had both been holding back. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel completely: joy, love, hope, and liberation. Silas was gone from my life, replaced by a man who had always been my soulmate in disguise. As we pulled back, his forehead resting against mine, I whispered, "I never knew love could feel this safe, this right." "It always was, Freya," he said softly. "You just had to find it with me." And in that moment, I realized the truth. The best friend I had relied on for a lifetime was the one I was meant to spend forever with. The mornings after the realization felt different, lighter, brighter, full of possibility. I woke without the tight weight of panic pressing on my chest. I woke knowing that Silas's cruelty no longer had any hold over me, and that love, real and unwavering, was finally within reach. Asher and I moved slowly, but surely into a rhythm, a life together that felt both familiar and new. We spent our days quietly planning, laughing, and rebuilding what Silas had tried to destroy, not just my dignity, but my sense of trust, my sense of self. He had thought he could control me with fear. Asher and I knew control wasn't needed when respect and love were present. "I've missed this," I said one afternoon, curling up on the couch beside him, a blanket draped over us both. The quiet, the safety, the freedom to just be myself without worrying about Silas or anyone else. Asher smiled, brushing a stray strand of hair from my face. "You've always deserved this, Freya. I've just been waiting for the right moment to help you see it. Now, it's ours to build together." And build we did. We planned small getaways, rediscovered old hobbies, and immersed ourselves in the things that brought us joy. I reconnected with friends I had distanced myself from, hosting dinners that reminded me laughter was possible again. Asher was always there, not overshadowing me, not dominating, but standing beside me as a partner, a lover, and a steadfast friend. The more I stepped into this life, the more I realized how much Silas had drained from me. Not just confidence, but ambition, courage, and even hope. And now, with each small victory, I reclaimed a piece of myself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, I turned to Asher. "Do you realize," I said softly, "that this is the first time in my life I feel like I'm truly building something of my own? Not for anyone else, not to please someone like Silas, but for me?" He wrapped his arms around me, holding me close. "I do, Freya. And I couldn't be prouder. You've taken everything he tried to break and turned it into strength, love, and life. You're unstoppable." I leaned against him, letting his warmth seep into my bones. It was more than physical comfort. It was reassurance, affirmation, and the knowledge that I was finally safe in every sense of the word. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. Asher kissed the top of my head, his presence grounding me. "And the best part," he whispered, "you never have to do it alone. I'll always be here, cheering you on, fighting with you, and loving you through it all." And I realized that this was the life I had been waiting for. A life free from fear, filled with love and laughter. A life where I could be myself fully, where my voice mattered, and where my heart could finally rest. Silas was a ghost from a past I no longer belonged to. And with Asher, I was finally home, emotionally, spiritually, and wholly. I closed my eyes, letting the peace of the moment wash over me. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe freely. I could live fully. And I could love without restraint. This was my life, reclaimed. Life had been settling into a beautiful rhythm. Asher and I finally breathing freely in a world without Silas's shadow. I had rebuilt my confidence, reclaimed my voice, and embraced the love that had been waiting quietly for years. Yet the universe has a way of testing the strength of newly forged freedom. It came in the form of an invitation, a lavish gala hosted by one of Silas's former business allies. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was expecting me to attend, to remain gracious in the face of his continued arrogance. But I knew better now. I wouldn't let him have any control, and I wouldn't let fear dictate my actions. Asher and I arrived together, poised and confident. My dress flowed perfectly, a deep emerald that made my hair shine, but more importantly, it made me feel unstoppable. Every eye in the room seemed to glance in my direction, drawn not just to the elegance of my appearance, but to the aura of someone who had risen from humiliation to empowerment. Then I saw him, Silas. The same smug expression, the same self-assured stance, yet something had changed. The moment he met my gaze, his confidence wavered. He realized, perhaps too late, that the woman before him was not the one he had controlled, belittled, or terrified. I was reborn, and his illusions of power held no weight. He approached, attempting that polished smile that once melted my nerves, but I barely acknowledged him. Asher, standing just behind me, gave a subtle squeeze of my hand, reminding me that my strength was not mine alone. It was ours together. "Freya," Silas began, voice smooth, attempting charm. "You look radiant." I turned to him fully, the fire in my eyes unmistakable. "Silas," I said evenly, my tone both polite and cutting. "I'm no longer someone whose approval you need to seek. I am here for myself and the people who respect me. That does not include you." Whispers began to ripple through the room, guests sensing the tension, the shift in power dynamics. Silas faltered, searching for a retort, but none came. His social grace, the very thing he had relied on for dominance, crumbled under the weight of truth and my newfound confidence. Asher stepped forward then, his presence magnetic.
"She's right.
Freya has earned respect, trust, and admiration by standing strong, by refusing to be silenced. And anyone who underestimates her learns that lesson quickly. I looked at him, gratitude and something deeper swelling in my chest. He had been my protector, my partner, and now my unwavering supporter in a world that had once tried to diminish me. Silas, now visibly flustered, slunk away, his former charm evaporating in the glow of my triumph. The room shifted back to the celebration, but the victory was mine and Asher's. I had faced him one final time, and I had not just survived, I had flourished. Later, as we walked home, hand in hand, I realized the lesson was clear. Life would test me, but I no longer feared those tests. With Asher beside me, I could meet any challenge with courage, grace, and love. And in that moment, I knew the final piece of my life had been reclaimed, my power, my voice, my freedom, and my heart. The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, warming the apartment and painting everything in gold. I woke slowly, feeling a deep sense of peace I hadn't known in years. No panic, no fear, no shadow of Silas, only warmth, love, and the steady presence of Asher beside me. I turned toward him, watching him sleep for a moment. His hand rested lightly on my waist, steady and protective. A soft smile tugged at my lips, and I realized how far we had come. From betrayal, humiliation, and fear, we had emerged stronger, together. Asher stirred, eyes opening to meet mine. "Good morning," he murmured, his voice still husky from sleep. "Good morning," I replied, slipping my fingers into his. "Do you ever think about where we started? And how we ended up here?" He chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Every day. I've loved you since we were kids. I just never thought we'd get here so beautifully or so fiercely." I leaned against him, heart swelling with gratitude and love. "Fiercely," I repeated, smiling. "I'm never letting anyone diminish me again. And I'm never letting anyone come between us." Asher's arms tightened around me, a quiet promise of protection and devotion. "You'll never have to. I'll always be here, Freya. Through everything. Forever." We spent the morning reminiscing and dreaming, planning trips, quiet evenings, and even mundane days that now held meaning because we shared them. Every conversation, every laugh, and every touch reaffirmed the life we had chosen together. A life built on trust, respect, and love that had waited patiently for the right moment. Later, we ventured out, walking through the park where we had spent so many childhood afternoons. The air was crisp and fresh, birds chirping overhead, and the world felt vibrant and full of possibility. I felt it deep in my bones. I was alive, truly alive, in a way I had never been before. Asher slipped his hand into mine, our fingers intertwining naturally. "Do you remember the night of the dinner? The night everything changed?" he asked quietly. I shivered at the memory but smiled. How could I forget? That was the night I realized I couldn't live small anymore. That I needed to claim my life, and that maybe, just maybe, my soulmate had been beside me all along. He smiled, a warm, tender expression that made my heart skip. And here we are, stronger, freer, and together. Forever. I leaned my forehead against his, inhaling the scent of him, the feeling of him. "Forever, Freya," I whispered. "No more fear. No more betrayal. Only love and strength." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting everything in shades of gold and rose, I felt a deep, unshakable certainty. Silas was a memory, a lesson in strength, resilience, and self-worth. But Asher was my present and my future. He was my home, my partner, and the love I had always deserved. Hand in hand, we walked through the city, unafraid of anything, unshaken by the past, and ready for a lifetime of shared dreams, laughter, and love. For the first time, I truly understood what it meant to be free and to love freely. This was my life, reclaimed and cherished. And with Asher by my side, I knew that no one could ever take it from me. I was Freya Finn, strong, unyielding, and deeply, profoundly loved.